Alright, hey guys, welcome back to another build video. Today we're showcasing a Mothkeeper's Wraps build, which is one of my favorite builds for this season. Before we get into the build, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. A lot of people who watch these videos are not subscribed. It's free, it's easy, just the click of a button. But without further ado, let's get into the build. Now, an important part obviously is Mothkeeper's Wraps. You kind of need these for the build. They go together like peanut butter and jelly with X Dearest. Now, if you're wondering what Mothkeepers do, they turn your grenade into loyal moths, not those ones that will kill you on Savathûn's Throne World. They're going to give you an overshield, and they're also going to blow up enemies instead of blowing you up. X Dearest, of course, is going to build into that. It will also have an increased rate of fire when you're taking or dealing damage, but it will also spawn a moth when you get a final blow or rapid direct hits, and the moth will do the same thing. It'll seek out targets and blow them up. The second part to Loyal Moth's trait is that it will also blind them. Now, if you look in the artifact for this season, we have Arc Compounding. Arc sources deal increased damage to blind targets. So we're going to kind of want to build into this a little bit. You can't really blind bosses, but you can blind, certain trash mobs and champions and certain yellow bars as well, the bullyable yellow bars as they say. So having Arc Compounding is nice for melting certain bosses as well. We'll get into the other artifact perks, but this one is really nice with this build. Let's get into the abilities, aspects, and fragments portion. Doesn't matter what your grenade is, it's going to be moths anyways. We are going to be running Withering Blade to play into Winter's Shroud, so that we are slowing targets. We are briefly increasing our class ability regen, so that we can have some synergy with our melee and class ability, which will also play into our grenades later. For fragments, we have Facet of Sacrifice, which is going to give us bonus Darkness Transcendence, so that we can buff that side of our Transcendence bar. And that's obviously going to be going while we have an Arc, Solar, or Void buff. We'll be getting Void Overshields from the Moths, as well as Stylish Executioner. And Facet of Dawn will be giving us a Radiant buff for free 25% damage, so that will also count towards Facet of Sacrifice. Facet of Balance, so that when we're doing light DPS, we are getting melee energy, and darkness damage will give us grenade energy. Facet of Mending, if you are in an endgame activity, this cure can save you a couple of times. It isn't necessary per se, but this can be helpful if you're in a lower level activity. You could certainly swap this out for any number of fragments here, but this is one that I think helps just a little bit, because this build, if anything, does lack a bit of healing. You will have plenty of overshield though as well. You could throw on Facet of Protection as well instead. That's another solid way to ensure you are surviving, although since you're using grenade launchers, being close to enemies isn't really ideal, so that's why Facet of Mending is a little bit better. But there was recently a decrease to self-damage with grenade launchers, so you might want Facet of Protection instead. Again, Facet of Dawn for Radiant. That will also give you Barrier if you don't have Barrier for some reason. It's pretty solid. You'll see in the gameplay I use it a couple times to proc Radiant on my grenade launcher, so I can use anti-barrier to kill champions. And then Facet of Courage, which will give us bonus damage to darkness debuffed targets. So yeah, for armor mods, we have Dynamo on because we're going to be dodging a ton near enemies to get our melee back. Arc Siphon because X Dearest goes really hard at wiping out enemies consecutively, so you're going to be making some orbs here and there. You're going to want to pick them up to get armor charge for your grenade kickstart. Again, just to keep the loop of getting your grenade back fast. Impact Induction will play into this as well, so that when you're causing damage with your shurikens, you will be getting your moths back a little bit quicker. Resist mods to whatever you're doing. Now I have two innovations on to start with this build. Again, like I said, if you're doing a harder activity and maybe you're not surviving as well, throw a Recoup or better already on. Also, you could switch Absolution out for a Surge as well if you need a little extra damage. But this is, the base version in, somewhat casual stuff. This is the best way to just get your grenades back really fast. And then we have a Bomber on as well to help get our grenade cooldown a little bit faster, time dilation to increase our buffs and our decaying armor charge, as well as powerful attraction, so when you're dodging to get your melee back, you're also collecting the orbs nearby. Now for weapons, you can kind of play around with whatever you want as a primary, doesn't really matter. I thought this Better Devils would go pretty well since it has Demolitionist for a little help with our grenade energy, as well as the free reload when we throw our grenade and we have that weapon out, as well as One for All, which is just a very solid damage perk. Now obviously you're going to need Exodus for this build. It's somewhat mandatory, or actually it's very mandatory to make this build fully effective. But you could just use any old grenade launcher if you don't have Exodus. In fact, Forbearance, which you can get from grinding Onslaught, the OG Onslaught, you can attune at Zavala. You can get Demolitionist on that as well. So if you just have Mothkeeper's Wraps and you don't have Exodus, Forbearance works pretty well also. And we have Bittersweet because, again, I want to remind everyone of arc compounding. Since Bittersweet is arc, it will deal increased damage to blind targets. So Bittersweet with Envious Arsenal Bait and Switch is just going to be extremely good. You could also use Wendigo in this sense. If you don't have an arc weapon, it's not the biggest deal in the world. You can use, again, any arc weapon. Oh my gosh. Hullabaloo. Hullabaloo? That's how you say it. God damn it. Yeah, that might be okay as well. It's more of an ad clear grenade launcher. But yeah, and for other artifact perks, this is what I have. If you just want to pause and put these on, I mean, really the only ones that work into this build are, actually it's supposed to be this one, Conductive Cosmic Crystal. Will increase our arc ability and void abilities, and they will do a little bit more damage, as well as weapons with the Dark Ether Reaper origin trait, which is what Bittersweet has. So those weapons will do a little extra damage as well. Concussive Reload is good as well because your Exodus is going to weaken. Trace Evidence so that you're blinding a little bit extra here because you're going to get Rapid Final Blows, as well as, you know, you're just going to be generating Ionic Traces as well with the blind. Curative Orbs for when you're breaking shields, and if you are facing Lucent Hive, breaking the Moth shields will count for Curative Orbs as well. I have Finders Keepers on to give us some more armor charge when we're picking up special or heavy, because you're going to need to do that. Exodus does run out of ammo very fast when you're firing it at full burst. Rapid Impacts, just because there's really nothing else that's good here. I think it helps with heavy grenade launcher reload, I'm not sure, so this is an interchangeable one. Of course, you're going to have Overload Breach Load on for just overloading if you are in a champion activity. Grenade Mod as well, to lower the cost of grenade mods since we're using a grenade build, and Killing Breeze just for some extra mobility. If you're doing something with Scorn, you could throw Fell the Revenant on, you could throw on Enhanced Ether Generator, whatever floats your boat. Really the only mandatory ones are Arc Compounding, Concussive Reload, and Trace Evidence, with Curative Orbs being just a no-brainer, and Conductive Cosmic Crystal kind of also being mandatory. It's just going to help you. Your grenade's going to do a little bit better, and of course if you're using Bittersweet, that's going to do better as well. I'll let some gameplay of this build play in the background for the rest of this video if you want to check it out for yourself before committing to putting everything on. I might do some mobilytic links in the future, but for now I'm seeing how these build videos do without them. But yeah, I think I might try mobilytics in the future. I would just ask that if you do want to see those links used, let me know in the comments. Anyways, that's it for me. See ya.